she came up and she said that Donald Trump talked about radical Islamic terrorism, which she doesn't want to use. She used a different term because she doesn't want to use that term. She refuses to use that term.
Donald Trump on the campaign trail criticizing Hillary Clinton for her refusal to couple the words in a phrase, radical Islamic terror. Of course, she's got a lot of company in the current administration, as most notably President Obama has yet to label any of the actions taken by those terror groups as radical Islamic terror. As we continue tonight on Newsmax Prime, we very much welcome your calls in at 1-877-NEWSMAX. That's 1-877-639-7629. Let's get right back to the phones. We hope to connect with our guest in a little while, but right now we've got a connection going with Lois, who is calling in tonight from Gary, Texas.
Hello?
Hi, Lois.
Yeah, I wanted to comment on Hillary saying that Trump will bankrupt us.
Uh-huh.
Well, I got news for Obama's done did that. And from George Washington to George Bush, we've run a $9 trillion deficit. The 7.5 years that Obama's been in there, he's doubled that.
Well,
so
you make a
guess who bankrupt our country?
Yeah, you make a valid point, especially what you had to say about the level of spending in these almost 8 years now of the Obama presidency. Lois, I thank you very much for your call this evening here on Newsmax Prime. What's that old saying, 2 for Texas? Well, here's our second caller from Texas. Cliff is on the line right now. Cliff, you've got a couple of things on your mind that you want to share with the nation tonight from Kemp, Texas. Go right ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. This is Cliff. I live in Kent, Texas.
Yes, sir.
Donald Trump is the only person that we're going to be able to elect. I know for a fact that the white folks or whatever, Caucasians, used to do all the concrete work in Texas here because I work in the construction business. And then with the blacks helping us and everything, we've done all the concrete work. Now the immigrants have come in. They have cut everybody's price on anything.
And the point you're making, Cliff, and let's make sure everybody understands. You have American citizens, whether black, white, Native American, Indians, whomever, working construction. But then through the years of a so-called boom, you had people who came in here illegally, undercut the wages, worked more cheaply, and were not citizens. So they're not technically immigrants, they're illegal immigrants. You're frustrated with that, and you believe Donald Trump is going to change that, correct?
Let's make sure everybody understands. Have Americans.
I think the delay. I think Cliff has the television up, and the delay is working hijinks there with the answer. At any rate, we will continue on and take more of your calls at 1-877-NEWSMAX. We are still hopeful we can connect with tonight's featured guest, the author of the book, See Something, Say Nothing. One thing the current administration has been talking about a lot, the refugees in the Middle East, the Syrians fleeing their country due to ISIS. This administration is intent on bringing in at least 10,000 this year, even though the current director of the FBI has said under oath in testimony to a congressional committee vetting these so-called refugees would be difficult. Donald Trump has called for a ban on Muslims coming into the country, and that is something the founder of a group called Muslims for Trump agrees with. Let's look and listen.
This is written on the wall. The radical Islam is a threat to Western civilization. Most of the countries look at them. What is the situation? We don't want to see this country, another Middle East or another France or Belgium. We have to take precaution.
And not only do you have that, but something that I have spoken about through the years, if people are claiming discrimination, never mind the fact that in current immigration law, the President of the United States can single out groups. That's the law right now. But if there's such a problem with that, quite frankly, we have had such a difficulty getting control of our borders. I believe that we need a moratorium on immigration until we get our house in order. Back to the phones now at 1-877-NEWSMAX from Clarksville, Virginia. Jim is on the line. Hi, Jim.
Hey, JD, how you doing tonight?
Fine, sir.
Hey, I want to thank you for the hat.
Oh, you bet. That's right.
Absolutely.
And you told all your neighbors, and the hat showed good. Glad you know you wear it with pride. And underneath that hat, what's on your mind tonight, Jim?
Well, it's about the border and how Trump wants to do something about the border. I think it should be shut down, and I'll tell you why. Because there's so many people coming across that border, you haven't got a clue. And I don't want to say the Obama administration because that's a news thing that the news people want to do. It's Barack Hussein Obama that does this stuff. It's not his administration, it's him. And he's done the same thing that the mayor in Baltimore was instructed to do. Stand down, let them burn the city down. He said the same thing down on the border. Tells all the agents down there, stand down and let them go. And poor old Sheriff Arpaio, he's doing everything he can to keep the law and order down there. And Obama's doing everything he can to go against it. Now, what do you think of that?
Well, I know Sheriff Joe Arpaio. He endorsed me in many of my campaigns and vice versa during my years in office. And I can tell you, here's the absurdity, Jim. You've got Sheriff Arpaio trying to enforce immigration law and the Justice Department and this president saying, no, you shouldn't enforce current immigration law. That's how strange and how, well, to use a time-honored term, bass-ackward things have gotten. Jim, I do appreciate your call tonight from Clarksville, Virginia, and glad you like the hat. There is other news involving the Justice Department and the current Attorney General as news arrives this evening that Attorney General Loretta Lynch will seek the death penalty for Dylan Roof, the accused Charleston church shooter. You may recall last July, when all of this happened, the great and understandable outcry at what happened at the AME Zion Church in downtown Charleston, in that historic city, the horrible killing, and now the death penalty, it's official, will be sought in the criminal trial of Dylan Roof. Back to the phones we go, now to the Commonwealth of Kentucky, to Corbin to be specific, and Leslie is on the line. Good evening, Leslie. Let me ask you to do this when you're calling in. Everybody needs to understand this. When you're calling into us, turn down your television set because there's a bit of a delay. And if you're watching on air, sometimes that confuses you. Let me make one last effort to connect with Leslie in Corbin, Kentucky. Hello, Leslie.
Hey, JD.
Hi, Leslie.
How you doing?
Doing fine, sir. What's on your mind this evening?
I just want to, the immigrants is killing us. I used to work in construction a lot, and they're taking over the construction companies and everything. And we need to close that border down. The immigrants, they're coming over here and taking everybody's jobs, and there ain't many left.
Well, the problem is this, and I want to thank you for the call, Leslie. There are some open borders enthusiasts who say that, oh, wow, this is what the market is developing. No, it's a market distortion. When you bring in cheap labor illegally, you are undercutting the market. It is not the market working. It is a market distortion. It leads to frustration literally from coast to coast, and that is the situation we confront. Time for one more call out to Barstow, California. 30 seconds to you, Jerry. Make them count.
I want to comment about this lifting the arms embargo against Vietnam.
Yes, sir.
And this deal with Cuba. Doesn't all that have to go through Congress?
That is a good point. You would think it would. However, if the president, through several executive orders, this may not be a total trade agreement. It may be just undoing what was a previous executive order. And this is where you get into a question of true constitutional lines of authority. It is a very valid point, Jerry, and one that bears a follow-up, and we will do so. But if there were executive orders put in place, those executive orders could be rescinded. But a good question tonight that you have to ask there from Barstow, California. So that's what Jerry has to say about Mr. Obama lifting the arms embargo on what is now known as the Republic of Vietnam. What do you think about that? We would love to hear from you on those questions and any others on your mind. Here's how you get in touch with us. The phone number live tonight, 1-877-NEWSMAX, 1-877-639-7629. On your computer, go to newsmaxtv.com/comments, or if you use Twitter, our handle is @Newsmax Prime. Another guy who uses Twitter quite a bit, our good friend Michael Reagan. He will be here next using Twitter, really using television. He'll talk with us here on Newsmax Prime. Stay